Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of Planning and Highways Committee of Thatcham Town Council, this being the 31st of January. And this meeting is being recorded for publication on the Thatcham Town Council YouTube channel. So, turning to the agenda, agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Does anybody have a declarable interest in any of the agenda items? Thank you. So minutes to take us read the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of January 2023.
Proposed, Chairman.
Thank you. Thanks. Those in favour? Thank you, which is reassuring as we adopted them last night. Matters arising from the previous meeting.
Nothing from me, Chairman.
Anything? I think the matters are probably the ones I have covered on under agenda items anyway. Consultation on the West Berkshire Local Plan review, proposed submission regulation 19. So I can either give you the short version or the full version. I think I'll try with the short version.
The extremely short version.
Yeah. So it started on the 20th of January after yet another delay. And it finishes on the 3rd of March. So as you heard last night, we have arranged a meeting of an extraordinary meeting, or is it an additional meeting of full council, to approve the submission on the Tuesday before that. And then we will, in 3 weeks' time, hopefully have a reasonably complete draft to consider at Planning and Highways. And that way we can hopefully refine it before it goes to full council, and therefore thereby make the full council meeting smoother. I think the one thing that is new is the HELAA, which HELAA, which is an acronym I don't know what it is. And that was an updated version was published on the day of the start of the consultation, which contains 4 additional sites around Thatcham, which were all rejected. So that was
you mean have been rejected?
So they have been added into the latest version of the HELAA. So they have been put forward since the previous version, the Regulation 18 version, have been reviewed by the Planning Policy Department and have been rejected.
Right. So they're put forward by who?
By the proposers of the site. That's the way that it works. That's THA 21 to 24, which, if I recall, is 2 sites. But it sites off Lower Way. I'm not sure exactly how many, but there's one area of grassland plus the bowling alley. Small area, we've got woodland opposite Piggy Wood, northeast Thatcham, and one of the other sites around the north. I can't remember. I think it would be the one north of Turnpike Road. That's the Ennick Park. Yeah, the second one. But those were all put forward and were all rejected for various reasons.
Chairman,
Yes.
it's fortuitous that you mentioned the bowling alley. Does it just remain derelict then? I mean, there's some news about what could happen.
Interesting question, because I asked a question on that matter at the full council or executive meeting of West Berkshire Council, because in fact the development of the bowling alley is one of the objectives in the current local plan. So I asked what the progress was, and they said that they can't really do much because it's private development. And of course it is now closed, and indeed it is up for sale. It's advertised on the internet now by.
So unless an application came forward, planning application came forward, they wouldn't be able to deal with it because you can't deal with something that doesn't happen, obviously.
Well, it has not been included in the local plan, and it's been rejected for various reasons to do with the location and the flood risk largely. But that does not mean that they could put forward a more detailed proposal which overcomes the objections to the site as a whole.
It makes you wonder how the development got there in the first place with all these hurdles that are now reduced.
Well, hurdles keep on getting added in the planning process, I think. And of course, that was not residential. Most of it wasn't residential. Whereas if it's been put forward, it was put forward for housing, where the criteria for flooding are more stringent.
Thank you.
But read the HELAA if you want to know more about it, if you're feeling that enthusiastic.
Of course.
think apart from that, to say that we are reading it through, there's another point that has been identified, which is that the council has a statutory duty to cooperate in relation to the health centre that is proposed, and it appears not to have done so. But we're investigating that one further.
Right, which health centre?
The one that is proposed to be as proposed as part of the North East Thatcham development. No, North East, Siege Cross is different. Siege Cross is only part of North East Thatcham. Yeah, but Siege Cross was one of the 4 plots that is now part of North East Thatcham. So, yeah, so that's.
What are we doing with this then? If you prepare this, I presume to ask you to approve it.
I can't see what it is.
Item 5, planning policy, we're on paragraph 5.
I think it's just, no, that is just the.
Screen Chairman.
That is from planning policy department. That's just announcing the start of the local plan. That is from West Berkshire Council.
Yes. So it's really inviting us to take part and to deliver by 3rd of March.
Yes.
What are we doing? Going to do it and put it in this?
I'm doing that now, so that will go. Yes, I'm doing it at the moment. I'm reviewing the documents and finding the points that I think we are appropriate to put forward for consideration by the council. The regulation 19 is very specific, and the purpose is to identify whether the plan is sound or not, or legal. And therefore, we're beyond the point where we can say we don't like things. We have to say why they are wrong in planning terms. And so that is what I'm investigating. And I hope to have a document for 3 weeks' time, which will probably not be complete, not be final, but will be complete enough for us to have a major discussion and agree on the key points in it.
Right, we've got to approve to get everything ready to be in no later than the 3rd of March.
Yeah. So we then have the meeting of full council on the 28th of February, which will agree it. That's Tuesday before. And then that gives us 3 days to make any final adjustments, put together the package of documents, because we will need any additional documents that we wish to supply as evidence, provide reference as evidence, will need to be submitted as well.
Are you doing all this on your own, or have you got helping you?
I've got support. So I've got support from Councillor Lister and other councillors around the district, because a lot of the issues are common, not specific to Thatcham. And we have meetings with Bucklebury and Old Ash and Midgham parish councils. And they are focused, particularly Bucklebury is retaining professional support, and they're looking particularly at the environmental issues, which requires expertise. I'm looking more for consistency between the various policies.
If all these parish councils, they're interested, they're involved, they'll be preparing a response. We want to make sure that we're all coordinated rather than putting forward different, let us say, objections, only to find, of course, that we may be pulling in different directions and undermining general thrust.
I think because of the nature of this, which is to consider whether the plan is sound or not. If we put forward, I think it's very unlikely that we'll be putting forward comments saying where the plan is sound. That's not required. Therefore, if we point to different things or different reasons why a particular point is unsound, it's very unlikely that we will conflict with each other. Of course, in certain specifics, we may indeed have contradictory views, because some of the sites, I don't think we'll be commenting on detail in individual sites, but the underlying issues related to sites, particularly between the parishes, we may have different views on. Well, I don't know, because this council does not have a view on individual, has not taken a view on individual sites in favour or against, beyond the North East Thatcham, where we have a fairly well-established view, but we haven't, formally speaking, taken any view on any of the sites. Just looking at the clerk in case I've overlooked something. Councillor Lister.
I just picked up on your comment about the new proposal in the Hewlett opposite Wiggy Woods, called Thatch 22, which is actually on a small part of woodland, which is ancient woodland.
Yeah.
So surprisingly about that is potentially developable.
Well, it's-
Developable in the West.
So- The site was previously described as a transmitter site. So there was a mast in it. I think it is now, to a significant extent, would be described as felled ancient woodland already. But that, of course, I haven't gone, as that's a relatively small site, I haven't read it in detail. That may be one of the reasons why it was rejected.
It's actually rejected, is it?
Because if it had been accepted, you would have seen it in the local plan. And of course, that means that the councillors, when they consider the local plan, were not aware of the additional sites that have been put forward because the HELAR was not available to them when at the full council meeting. Any other further questions on the local plan before? So we'll have lengthier discussions at future meetings, and indeed one meeting specifically dedicated to that topic.
Do we have to propose noted or something?
No.
No.
It's not
Noted.
We knew already.
No comment.
So inquiry land at Lawrence's Lane. The inquiry was adjourned in December on the second day because of shortcomings in the drainage strategy put forward by the appellants. It resumes tomorrow for one day and then continues on the 8th, 9th and 10th of March. The reason for that is simply the availability of the inspector and the barristers and the expert witnesses, all of whom, of course, have full diaries on other similar matters. So tomorrow, if you're that interested, we have landscape and the council's case on need for sites. So that the landscape will be what's called a round table discussion. Whereas the need will be a formal cross-examination of the council's expert witness.
What time starting?
10 o'clock.
At West Berkshire Council.
In the chamber, and if you receive notification that it had to finish at 4, that's no longer the case because that was due to a meeting in the evening which has since been cancelled.
So you'll be there for the council.
I will be there. I think those two, I'm not expecting to play a particularly active role in those two topics. They're not ones on which the council has put forward views specifically.
Going to be interesting. Is it worthwhile somebody people attending support?
Well, there's no need to attend to show support. The inspector will not be influenced by the number of people present. If it's interesting, that is, I would say the interest is limited to people with a particular background. You might have that background, but I wouldn't recommend members of the public to devote a day to come and attend, unless it might be a good day if you wanted to learn about the process of planning inquiries, because you've got the two types of session.
And the 8th, 9th and 10th of March, okay, it's
Timetable still to be
way ahead, but
timetable still to be agreed because it's not yet clear how many of the issues are contested. That will involve landscape, involve drainage, and the personal circumstances of the occupants of the site. And they hope to include the final day for closing, for discussion of conditions and closing speeches. But that is there is a possibility that would happen on the 14th by Zoom.
the personal circumstances of the applicants on the site, how is that relevant to planning?
It is. I think I'm not an expert on that topic. I'd rather not. I'd rather not discuss it in an open session because I don't want to say anything that's wrong on camera, as it were. But I can talk to you after the meeting and explain what I understand. But yes, it is relevant, or it has been put forward. I'll say that. Okay, so I think that at that point you've received that. That doesn't need to be formally recorded. So we'll move on to planning applications. quite early in the
May
night.
something before, you know, I got this in my papers, it's not March 3-1, as if it's going to be under item 3, but was not, it's objection by councillor Pike, long document, when are we coming back?
Yeah, that's right, that. Appendix for the last minutes, the clerk informs me, so
Oh, it's past the last minute. Oh,
we just approve them.
sorry, so what are we doing? All right, you thrown me then, I thought it was.
That was something that we agreed to be submitted and has already been submitted, and the deadline for submission has already passed.
Right, so that.
So we discussed that at our last meeting. And
Yes, so that's what was.
Yeah.
So this is solely about the proposed site for first time homes.
no, that one, I can't see which one that is. Is that the site? Yeah, that would be. Yeah.
That's,
I get confused because there's such a plethora of applications for Lawrence's Lane.
that's the other side, the left hand side of the line.
Yeah. Yes, so that was the.
All right.
Okay. Now on to agenda item 5.
Right, so the first application, Laundry Cottages, Crookham Common Road. It's quite difficult to locate, but you can probably just about see the purple highlighted area here. So as you can see it, the site is set well back off of Crookham Common Road. Zooming down, so this is the proposed new porch on the side, and this is the ceiling, the roof view of the first floor extension. I'll zoom through those because it's better to show you the floor plans. So this is the current floor plans and the proposed. So you can see the new porch, and this is the first floor extension. All the materials are to match the existing property, and reconfiguration of the ground floor and extension to the first floor to provide 2 bathrooms and an extra bedroom.
So if I see the position of the site again, I'm afraid I was looking elsewhere.
So it's Crookham Common Road here, and it's
Right.
up this track. And then
But there's adjoining, two adjoining properties.
yes,
I see that it's outlined in red and there's 2 others nearby.
You go back to the aerial view. I'm just
Mhm.
seeing that is. So it's that is a public right of way, is it not? Going through Highfield, that's I think a bridle way.
Oh, where's the site?
So you've got Thornford Park here, so coming up round the corner, just off on the left hand side.
So any objection from the adjoining properties?
There's no objections from any other residents or from names.
Like to make a,
Opposed, no objection?
Seconded.
those in favour of making no objection? Thank you very much. We don't object to that one. We'll move on to application number 2. David, did you see my email today?
Yes.
Okay, so Francis Baily School. So this is the existing building here that's proposed to be demolished. And this is what it currently looks like. Scrolling through, and then this is the proposed design, and this is the location. So you can just about see the red outline of the building to be demolished. And then this is the proposed new construction to contain 6 new classrooms. The existing building is described as a dilapidated temporary structure. And the chairman has sent down comments with regard to the design and access statement, and this is the paragraph that you refer to in the design and access statement, and I'll put your comments up.
So just to note there, it says that the project will fully comply with the school's output specification. But in terms of environmental performance, that's a bit of a misnomer because that contains a number of options from fully carbon neutral through to gas boilers, depending on the constraints of the site. So it doesn't actually specify anything in terms of environmental performance. And indeed, I can't actually look at the 2021 one because this design and access statement dates from May last year, and it's been updated since. So I have to look at the 2022 version.
Does it have at least voiced the aspiration of being as environmentally friendly as they possibly can?
Well, it's these words that are sort of open to multiple interpretations, like embracing.
Embrace a sustainable approach.
Yeah.
Planning speak.
Yeah, exactly. That's what worried me. This, of course, was written by planning consultants. So, as I say, I was worried when I discovered when I found I don't think this actually, I couldn't translate that statement into any particular level of performance. So I therefore be given, and of course we had an application from in its school a few meetings ago where they asked for the removal of a zero carbon condition, which we proposed. So I've therefore suggested to simplify things, because I think we have to get the wording right in this case. You can see there the quote that I gave, it's a bit small on the screen, but I can read it out to you. So Thatcham Town Council supports the replacement of the teaching block and the general design of the new building. However, the council feels that it must object to the application as it stands, as that there is insufficient information in the design and access statement and plan on the zero carbon performance of the proposed new building. The school's output specification that is referenced in the design and access statement provides guidance on minimising carbon footprint, but not any specific requirements. And then the council would support approval of the application provided that this is subject to a condition that it has a zero carbon performance or as close to zero carbon as is feasible given the constraints of the site. So that, of course, gives the opportunity either for the school to put forward further information or before the application is considered, or for the council to impose a condition, as I guess that they did for Kennet School. The intention being that if it's possible to avoid this being rejected outright at the planning stage, to the way for the school to proceed while achieving our objectives, both councils' objectives for achieving zero carbon performance.
So our wording is going to be cannot approve it in the.
Like I was proposing that exact wording would be added to the response.
I would normally see no support and any proposal like this is going to improve the school, to knock down an old classroom building.
Yeah.
New one, we want to be seen to be voicing any.
Well, we support the design. We start by saying we support the design and the replacement and the design, but we're
overall project.
But we object on the grounds that there's insufficient information. Do you want to go back to that wording? Thatcham Town Council supports the replacement of the teaching block and the general design of the new building. However, the council feels that it must object to the application as it stands, as there is insufficient information in those two documents on the zero carbon performance of the new building. And I also reference those two specific documents in case further documents. So the West Berkshire Council's officers are aware of the ones that we considered.
Okay, I'm happy we ventilated the point and the wording has been considered.
That's why I felt it was worth me writing it in advance rather than trying to draft it during the meeting.
Okay, very clever, well done. I propose no objection.
We're proposing an objection here, in fact.
Yeah, that's true. I was just going to ask Chairman, he's stating the council would support approval of the application provided that this is subject to a condition that it has a zero carbon performance. There is a term that's used, and I need to look at what the new local plan is for commercial buildings.
Right.
Because it might be worth trying to align with that, that phrase.
Can I suggest that we agree this subject to that just the confirmation of those three words offline between Councillor Lister and the clerk? Because I don't think that's material to what we're saying. It's just to get the terminology correct.
Yeah, right. But green buildings, isn't it? It's the standard, I think, that the council is trying to.
Okay, because it may be slightly different for schools because it's because there are categories within this document.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I would propose, that we agree this subject to the confirmation of the correct wording relating to the performance in the final paragraph.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Are we putting in an objection?
We're putting an objection with this very conditional objection specifically on that one point of the zero carbon performance.
So who's proposed?
So Councillor Lister's proposed there. Councillor Lily Crop has seconded. Those in favour of making that response? Thank you. That's unanimous.
Sorry, can I just be a pain and go back to the little Cox business? Have we been in touch with the appropriate district councils to ensure if this is going to be put forward for approval, if it gets referred to Mr. Mary? They've been alerted.
They are aware the period for consultation was, I know that Councillor Dillon has commented, when I looked this afternoon, there was nothing specific about it being called in, but I understood that it was going to be called in.
Maybe called in any event.
Maybe in any event, but I think
I just raised the point, I think.
Yeah,
This is good stuff. And
of course, it is in Coldash Parish. We're in neighbouring, and I'm not sure whether an adjacent the condition under which an adjacent parish adjacent councillor can, but of course, as it's designed and access, because it's addressing access, then half the width of the access is in our parish.
You know, you've got it covered.
Yeah, I've tried my best. Yeah. Okay, so we then move on to the two applications that we propose. We would normally not consider.
And no representations on them, Chairman.
Well, in fact, one is an application to determine if private approvals given, which we can't really comment on anyway. So thank you. So that concludes agenda item 7. We move on to agenda item 8. Any planning matters?
No planning matters from me, Chairman.
Agenda item 9.
Okay. A closure of Thornford Road yesterday to the 2nd of February. Thames Water Works and a diversion in place. And I do have 2 others, Chairman, that have come in since the publication of the agenda. And that is upgrade of traffic signals in the area of Pipers Way and Station Road between 8 AM and 5 PM on days between the 6th and 10th of February. And it's retrofitting existing signals to use low voltage with LED signals. Only minor signal disruption expected. And the other one is notification of refresh of white lining following removal of the orcas. A4. This will take place on the 2nd and 3rd of February between 9:30 AM and 3:30 PM. And it's the stretch from Gables Way to the Garden Centre roundabout.
Where's Gables Way? Can you remind me?
The industrial.
It's the whole length of Thatcham.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I thought they were close together.
The orcas are leaving town, Chairman.
And that's all on traffic matters.
Just to mention there, if as Councillor Lister wasn't present last night at full council, it was suggested that Planning and Highways would start to maintain a log of the items that we identify and forward to West Berkshire Council so that we can keep track of which ones are completed and how long it takes. But that we'll start that formally at a future meeting.
It's got potholes and the like.
Or whenever we notify the council of a highways matter, we periodically check the completion or otherwise of those items.
When are we starting that? The next meeting? I got a list of potholes.
Now, this is what you have to bring them first to the meeting, and then
Oh, I see.
and then we will forward them on to the council, and then we will keep on.
It's not good enough.
No, the point is, it is a log of things of actions we've requested the West Berkshire Council to take,
Yes.
and then we check whether they've been completed, because we can't expect them to be completed if they're not aware of them.
We've got to start from somewhere with a list of.
Yeah. But we already have a list of ones that we had from previous meetings that we identify, like other white lines elsewhere in the town.
Entirely, Chairman, you're quite right. I raised this last night because, as I said, a number of us attend the surgeries, and it's quite shocking. You've got a number of months between the surgeries for us, and it's quite shocking that residents are coming up to us and saying, "When are you going to do this? And when are you going to do it?" And about 4 or 5 months earlier, they had brought it up at the surgery, and I think we need a log and a record of what people are raising as we've got. To make statements to us, we bring them into the council offices. But it doesn't appear that much gets done, and it's all down to West Berkshire. And it makes us look incompetent that we attend these surgeries regularly, and these things are brought up, but not being done.
Yeah.
And I think we need. I made a sort of comment saying we need a record of. What 2 words did I use? Check and chase or something, or something.
Track and trace.
Traffic, yes, something like that. Anyway,
Don't use that. That was
but also,
not a good model.
but also, you know, if, for instance, you or I go to a surgery in the next month, and someone else again comes to you and says, "Well, we brought this up about 6 months ago. What's happening?" At least you and I would be able to see. Well, actually, yes. West Berkshire Council said they're going to do this, but we need a time and a date that they're going to do it. It's all very well replying to me. West Berkshire Council replying to me saying, "We are going to do the work. What, this year, next year, 10 years' time?" That's not a response we give to our residents in Thatcham at a surgery in the town centre. We need more information. We need factual responses, and otherwise we look silly, don't we? And may I say that you did very kindly second the proposal to take action on the pavement structure outside Whitebrow Court. It was actually appalling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
Months ago, yes. But West Berkshire attended, haven't they, on a couple of occasions, said, well, that's not really a problem.
Well, Johnny, what is a problem? Because we identified it was a problem and the residents said it was a problem.
I think they've agreed to do it as part of the work on Crown Mead, but the work on Crown Mead is also not happened for an extremely long time.
But we need to know when,
Yeah.
Chairman, so we can assure the people that we are not responsible directly, but we are chasing the work to make their lives safer.
I think that they use the same terminology as the government does, which is in due course.
Yes, but Chairman, can I just pick up a point? If West Berkshire Council are white lining when they're replacing the orcas and so on, can they just continue doing necessary and urgent work in other areas of the town whilst the van is out?
We have actually specifically, when we were informed of this white lining in principle last year, and we did give them a list of other items that to invite them to do at the same time. Some of them they said they couldn't because work needs to be done on the tarmac before they did the lining. But I think then we'll keep our fingers crossed that
Well, they could do the preparation, and then when the van comes out to do the white lining, the orcas, it's out here. Let's do the job and get it done. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm ranting again.
Okay, so decision notices.
Okay, so there are a couple that are contrary to Town Council's response. These being Pound Lane. Well, this one's not contrary, but there was requested that a condition be attached to that, and I have confirmation of that. So Town Council requested to ensure that the proposal doesn't become a separate dwelling, and so a condition has been applied. The building, actually, I'll get it up on the screen, it's probably better, isn't it? Rather than me reading it out. I think I might not have said that. So the building hereby permitted shall not be used at any time other than for purposes ancillary and or incidental to the residential use of the dwelling known as 20 Pound Lane. Reason: to limit the future use of the building to prevent uses which would not be ancillary or incidental to the main dwelling. This condition is applied in the interest of preventing a change of use which would result in an unsustainable pattern of development and detract from neighbouring and local amenity. And the other one was 124 Bath Road. You can see the Town Council objected and that has been approved. The objections were in line with the neighbours' comments about loss of light. In the report that accompanies the planning approval, it says the proposed development has no detrimental impact on the amenities of neighbouring property east of the site. The neighbour to the west of the site has objected to the construction of the new flat roof dormer on the west elevation roof slope, as it will make light from the kitchen window at ground level on the east elevation, take light, sorry, on the east elevation of their property. Although the neighbour states that the light to that window is already compromised by the existing dormer on the west elevation, it is therefore considered that any increase in loss of light to that window would be minimal and would not justify a recommendation for refusal.
So, because it's already quite poor. That doesn't matter. It's not making it worse.
Agenda item 11, reports from Town Council appointees to outside bodies. So I turn to Councillor Lillycrop, who is named here for the two flood bodies.
Thank you, Chair. The main news, I believe, is that the flood defence work at Thatcham North on the corner of Heath Lane and Tollway. Those two projects, the clearance work has now begun, so that project is underway. Noticed on social media today there's a little bit of confusion because at the same time one of the local developers leafleted houses in the area about a proposal for Hennick Park there. So there was some confusion as to whether that was flood work that was going on or clearance for a development project, which was a bit of a shame because we really wanted to make the communication clear on that. But it's good news that the North Thatcham work is underway. No news yet on the clearance work at the East Thatcham site. I believe that's imminent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chairman, can I also thank Councillor Lillycrop and his team, shall I say, as you quite rightly say, as we speak, the entrance is being formed on Bowling Green Road, just west of the hotel. And as you quite rightly said, we had a notification that a potential for 325 homes in the area, and they thought, my gosh, they're putting in the entrance for these homes already. But it is for the water retention ponds, and we're looking forward to the future when apparently got more rain coming. So we do welcome the ponds and the works at last. So thank you for your works on that.
Okay. Thank you. And so with that, that brings the meeting to an end. Thank you very much.
Oh, nice and strong.